This event was organized by UNDP. Uh, you know, First I want to thank Ozone Secretariat and other partners to organize this Montreal Protocol Pavilion during this COP. It's first time for us to come to this important forum to showcase the work Montreal Protocol family did in the past 3 decades. You know that this COP is special because the first ever, the world did a global stock take about the climate action. And maybe here we can do a little bit similar things to stock take about the action we did, under the Montreal Protocol in past 3 decades. Actually, Montreal Protocol works quite well. We almost phase out most of the 99% of the ODS. And I remembered, maybe some of you also remember, 8 years ago here, 2015, we also met in the Montreal Protocol family, met in the Dubai, and we have Dubai pathway at that time. And at that time also, we only, for developing countries, achieved 10% of HFC phase out. And after 80 years now, I just checked the data from Ozone Secretariat, developing countries almost phase out, I think, close to 50% of the HFC of the baseline. It's really a lot of progress in last 80 years, and we also now had 155 parties ratified the Kigali Amendment. So this is also an important moment for the Kigali and for Montreal Protocol to start a new journey, and will be more involved in the global climate effort. So I think today is an opportunity for us to, in this event, to discuss or showcase our past achievement, but also looking forward how this community can evolve our interventions to contribute to the global climate action. So there are a lot of opportunities, but also challenges. I think that's the why we come together here. And I'm very honored to invite the Executive Secretary of the Ozone Secretariat, Max Zaki, to give opening remarks. Thank you very much. Please.
Thank you very much. I think you've said it all. Okay, so I would like to welcome you all to this event called Pioneering the Green Transition from Ozone Layer to Climate Change by UNDP. And thank you very much for letting me do the opening. That's great. So welcome to this Montreal Protocol Pavilion that we have managed to organize with 15 other partners. And who are those partners? You will see their logos in the screen outside, which is in a loop. And I can see that CoolUp has managed to print the logos, and they are up there. So those are our partners in this pavilion. And I would like to thank all these partners for their contributions and support to make this pavilion a reality. So I will talk a little bit in a nutshell along what Xiaofang already mentioned, a little bit about the success of the Montreal Protocol, a little bit about the challenges ahead, and a little bit of the vision for the future. So the reasons why the Montreal Protocol is known as one of the most successful MEAs. So as Xiaofang already mentioned, it has managed to phase out 99% of ozone-depleting substances that are widely being used and put the ozone layer back on track to recovery. It has contributed a lot to climate change mitigation because ozone-depleting substances are very highly global warming. And it has shown incredible success with science and science-based policy making. Its implementation and institutional mechanisms, including the Multilateral Fund, that has supported 144 developing countries to meet their obligations under the Montreal Protocol. And of course, the global partnership and spirit of cooperation and compromise shown by the parties. Every time there's a crunch, somehow this spirit comes up and progress is made in compromise and this will to move forward. Now, challenges ahead is, first of all, keeping up this success for the implementation of the Kigali Amendment. So to do that, we need universal ratification and full compliance with the Kigali Amendment control measures to reap the full benefit, climate benefits of 0.5 degrees centigrade avoidance in warming by 2100 with the HFC phase down, and then doubling that with energy efficiency enhancement. So with the Kigali Amendment, the Montreal Protocol is becoming more and more a climate treaty, if I may dare to say. So as mentioned everywhere at this COP, sustainable cooling plays a key role in both mitigation of and adaptation to climate change. So Montreal Protocol and its Kigali Amendment are at the core of sustainable cooling. And Kigali Amendment has actually played a key role in bringing this issue of cooling into the spotlight. So the vision is that with the Kigali Amendment, we can actually contribute a lot more to the efforts to avert the climate crisis. So this is why we actually decided to have this pavilion at this climate COP for the first time. Now, the vision is for the Montreal Protocol to become more visible in this climate arena. And why do we want to be more visible? It's to strengthen the cooperation with the climate community for enhancing synergies, including at the national level, in tackling climate change. Put in a nutshell, it's basically that. So without any more ado, let me express my appreciation again to UNDP and all the partners for contributing to this pavilion. And of course, for all the work you do on sustainable cooling, sustainable development, and global environmental protection. So thank you very much.
So we have a video, just a short video prepared by UNDP, demonstrating the impact of the Montreal Protocol and celebrating its success. Just starting now. You will recognize some usual suspects.
Montreal Protocol is an illustration not only for how science can inform human actions, because it was science that opened our eyes to the opening hole in the ozone layer. It also gave us the answer of what was driving that problem, what we could do about it, and here we are. We've actually begun to turn this story around, and it's very much a story of the 20th century and of humanity joining hands, the United Nations contributing both the platform and the scientific community, giving us, in a sense, both the rationale for acting and the means to act.
El Protocolo de Montreal es un acuerdo internacional que ha sido firmado por todos los países para disminuir y controlar las sustancias agotadoras de la capa de ozono. Chile desarrollamos 3 proyectos en supermercados para cambiar la tecnología de refrigeración de HCFC a CO2 transcrítico. Chile ha cumplido con todas las metas relacionadas con el Protocolo de Montreal y sus enmiendas. Chile ha realizado varios proyectos de cambio en los sistemas de refrigeración, cambio en sistemas de climatización. Cambiar los HCFC por CO2 tiene un efecto directo en la mitigación del cambio climático.
El planeta no da para más si seguimos con los mismos patrones de producción y de consumo. Y esa es la invitación que se está haciendo, particularmente en proyectos como estos. ¿Qué es lo interesante y por qué era tan importante la participación del PNUD y del sistema de Naciones Unidas? Por su posición imparcial. A Naciones Unidas se le cree. Hoy, en Chile, empresas están cofinanciando con recursos de gobierno en alianzas públicas-privadas y en consulta con sus comunidades proyectos de desarrollo, particularmente en temas ambientales.
Since we became party to the Montreal Protocol, there are so many activities that we've undertaken as the Kingdom of Eswatini, formerly known as Swaziland, towards keeping the environment clean through the phasing out of ozone-depleting substances. Amongst those activities that we have undertaken is the collaboration that we have had with Country Swaziland.
In a fridge, you've got two parts. You've got the refrigerant itself, which is the part that makes the fridge cold, and then you've got the insulation that keeps the fridge cold. You can't do one without the other. The insulating system that we used in the fridge had to be replaced. The previous ones were harmful for the environment. The project entailed changing all the machinery that is used for putting the insulation in the fridge. Okay, but the consumer will benefit in two ways. First of all, they've got an environmental friendly fridge, and secondly, their fridges will be cheaper because the foam that we use for our manufacturing process is cheaper than foam that uses other blowing agents.
When it comes to the role that UNDP plays in the Montreal Protocol, then it is principally that of helping countries implement projects that will reduce ozone-depleting substances. That often involves capacity building, it involves the introduction of new technologies, of new manufacturing processes, and so our role is to provide support in both the financial, technical, and implementation sense to countries to tackle the objectives of the Montreal Protocol. Doing that allows us to assist countries not only in meeting their commitments under the Montreal Protocol, but also by linking, for example, the Montreal Protocol, its Kigali Amendment, with the outcomes and objectives of the Climate Change Convention. And therein lies also the strength of UNDP. We are the UN's development program. Our approach is to look at sustainable development solutions where investing $1 in solving one problem can yield multiple benefits across a series of goals.
Thank you. So you could see some examples in two countries, in Chile and Eswatini, of practical projects and what has been implemented there over the years. Of course, apart from the technical support, there is a very high importance on high political commitment at the level of the developing countries that have been so important in the success of the Montreal Protocol. So we have a few examples of these statements by developing countries. And we will start with Mr. Zhang Yujun, Director General of FECO at the Ministry of Ecology and Environment of the People's Republic of China. He has recorded this statement, as he will come only later during the COP. So I will play the statement now, please.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to express my gratitude the UNDP for the warm invitation and excellent organization of this side event, pioneering the green transition from ozone layer to climate. It is my great honor and pleasure to participate and communicate with you on sustaining progress in the implementation of the Montreal Protocol. This year marks the 36th anniversary of the Montreal Protocol. Over the past 36 years, the parties have drawn together and made concerted efforts to implement their obligations to phase out the controlled substances. Globally, more than 99% of ozone-depleting substances have been phased out, and all targets set under the Montreal Protocol have been met on schedule. The ozone layer is under its recovery gradually, with a synergized effect on climate change mitigation. The Montreal Protocol has set a successful example of international solidarity in addressing global environmental issues. As a responsible developing country, China attaches great importance to environmental protection and consistently fulfills its obligations under international environmental conventions. Since acceding to the Montreal Protocol, China has made solid progress in phasing out controlled substances, vigorously promoted green and low-carbon alternative technologies, and phased out about 628,000 tons of ODS, accounting for more than half of that of developing countries, despite the difficulties that have created for our own economic and social development, such as industrial transformation, technological challenges, and re-employment. We have made our contributions to the global protection of the ozone layer. The study shows that during the 30-year period from 1991 to 2020, China has cumulatively avoided about 26 billion tons of CO2 equivalent greenhouse gas emissions in the process of phasing out ODS, achieving huge climate benefits while protecting the ozone layer. Building on past achievements and launching a new journey for the implementation of the Montreal Protocol, this year is critical for China, as well as most of the other developing countries, to freeze its production and consumption of HFCs at baseline by 2024, which is the freeze year. As a major producer, user, and exporter of HFCs, China's HFCs phase down is not only crucial to achieving its domestic targets under the Kigali Amendment, but also of great significance to the promotion of global compliance as well as the global climate and environmental governance. The latest data from the World Meteorological Organization indicates that 2023 is said to be the hottest year on record, with the global mean temperature reaching its historical high, approximately 1.4 Celsius degree above pre-industrial average temperature. In the meantime, sea ice in the Antarctic remains its lowest level at record. COP28 UAE brings the world together at a critical moment for global transformative climate action. The Montreal Protocol, prevailing at COP28, will offer a platform for the Montreal Protocol and the cooling community to promote climate action. The consensus reached between China and the United States prior to COP28 also reaffirmed the commitment of both countries to phase down HFCs. Under the Kigali Amendment, including minimum energy efficiency standards for the manufacture of cooling equipment, the time for action on HFCs has arrived. Under the framework of the Montreal Protocol, parties are adopting HFC's control measures and progressively achieving timely HFC phase down. In accordance with compliance requirements under Montreal Protocol, China has formulated and promulgated a series of policies and regulations on HFCs control, established and implemented the import and export licensing system for HFCs, and issued HFC's quota allocation plan for 2024 to ensure that the HFC phase-down targets can be achieved as scheduled. Ladies and gentlemen, I firmly believe that the valuable experience of the successful implementation of the Montreal Protocol will provide important guidance for the future implementation process, and will also provide an important example for the international community to jointly address other global challenges, including climate change. Adhering to the concept of building a community of shared future for mankind, China will resolutely uphold and participate multilateralism, actively and constructively participate in the collaborative governance of the ozone layer protection and climate change mitigation. China stands ready to join efforts with other parties, promote global ecological civilization, advance sustainable development, and safeguard our homeland on Earth. Wish this event a great success. Thank you.
So we heard about the achievements, also the context of the COP28, also the focus on the Kigali Amendment and the HFCs in the context of multilateralism for the greater benefit of mankind, as was mentioned by the representative from China. We are now moving to another recording of Mr. Aditya Narayan Singh, Additional Director, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change of India.
Good afternoon to all. First of all, I would like to thank UNDP for inviting me to share India's experience in the Montreal Protocol implementation. Due to unavoidable circumstances, I could not be present in person. The topic given to me is implementation of Montreal Protocol achievements and future opportunities. This slide shows the implementation framework of Montreal Protocol in India. Silent features are the implementation of the Montreal Protocol should not adversely affect the industry or the economy. Another important feature is to meet the demand for alternatives as far as possible from indigenous source. Thirdly, emphasis is on adoption of climate-friendly, safe, and sustainable alternatives. This slide shows institutional framework for Montreal Protocol implementation in India. Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change is the nodal ministry for implementation of the Montreal Protocol activities and set up an ozone cell for undertaking activities relating to implementation of Montreal Protocol. There is an empowered steering committee headed by the secretary, which is the apex body to take policy decisions and to oversee and guide the implementation from time to time. There are two standing committees to assist empowered steering committee. Standing committee of monitoring, review and recommends the data of controlled substances before sending to the Montreal Protocol bodies. As a regulatory framework, India has brought out ozone-depleting substances regulation control rules 2000, notified on 19 July 2000 under the Environment Protection Act regulations. which regulates production, consumption, trade, import, and export of ODSs and the products containing ODSs. The regulation also set the deadlines for phasing out of various ODSs and are amended from time to time in line with the Montreal Protocol phase-out schedule. Salient features of the ODS rules are mandatory registration with ozone cell for producers, manufacturers of equipment, product, importer and exporter of compressors, recycling, recovery, reclamation and destruction. Import and export of ODSs are subject to license issued by the Directorate General of Foreign Trade with recommendation from the ozone cell MASC. In terms of implementation strategy and framework for various Montreal Protocol projects, close coordination with the nodal line ministries, department, ozone control boards, partnering with national technical institutions and academic institutions of excellence to facilitate industry, particularly MSME, in transitioning to alternative low GWP technologies. A special attention paid for MSME in terms of providing hand-holding and equipment support. Appropriate measures are also taken to mitigate various risks identified during project implementation. Sustaining phase-out is a key issue addressed during the implementation of each project. Key achievements in Montreal Protocol implementation are as follows. As per the study conducted by Ozone Cell, implementing the ozone-depleting system phase out under the Montreal Protocol will mitigate in the range of 778 to 1,176 million tons of CO2 equivalent GHG emissions by 2030. Use of CFC and halons have been phased out in new cooling and firefighting equipment manufacturing from 1st January 2003. Phase out of production and consumption of virgin halon in 2002. Another achievements are as on 1st January 2020, India achieved reduction of 44% of SCFCs as against reduction target of 35% of the Montreal Protocol. Complete phase out use of SCFC 141B as on 1st January 2020 in manufacture of rigid polyurethane foam. India is implementing HPMP stage 3, which includes activities related to phase out of SCFCs in manufacturing of all equipments and products from 1st January 2025. To develop and implement unified certification and training system for REC service technicians. We also plan for strengthening training infrastructure for servicing at government training issues for effective implementation of service-related activities. India is in the Group 2 country for implementing the Kigali Amendment as per first reduction schedule will start in 2032. Toward preparing for the Kigali Amendment, we are currently developing a national strategy for HFC phase down in close coordination with line ministry and industry stakeholders. The principles of the country program for ODS phase out will continue during implementation of Kigali Amendment. The focus will be on adoption of alternatives which are climate friendly, technical feasible, economic viable, and safe for ensuring proper supply chain of such alternatives. Lastly, it is important that with the ongoing SCFC phase out and HFC phase down to be implemented, there is a need for integrated action. Most of you may be aware that India is the first country to develop and launch India Cooling Action Plan. A large part of cooling demand is refrigerant based, which is addressed under the Montreal Protocol. Accordingly, implementation of ICAP has also been integrated with SCFC phase out and HFC phase down. Thank you.
So we heard from China and India, and now I will hand over to Xiaofeng for the next part of the program.
Yes, I think it's one of the important success of the Montreal Protocol is have the universal support from all of the parties, including China, India, and all of the countries. Even this means, tremendous effort from the country and all of the stakeholders. And today we're also very happy to have Ms. Yulia Soyani. She's the director of the climate change mitigation from the Ministry of Environment and Forest of Indonesia government. She's here in person. So we'll be share her insight, experience. She has a lot of experience working in the climate change rather than Montreal Protocol, but she also in charge of the work of the Montreal Protocol in Indonesia. Please, welcome Yulia.
So, okay. Okay. Well, it is a pleasure being here, and I welcome you, the Montreal Protocol community in the UNFCCC COP28. So maybe Indonesia is one of the countries that belong to the Article 5, Group 1, if we seek the Kigali Amendment. Maybe I want now to introduce the climate change side because this is the first time Indonesia will seek the linkage between the Montreal Protocol and the climate change after the Kigali Amendment ratification in Indonesia. So if we're talking about the climate change, we are talking about the NDC, the nationally determined contributions. Indonesia already submitted our enhanced NDC in 2022, and it is with the enhanced commitment with the number of 32.60, I think, one moment. It's because it's 31.89% against business as usual scenarios. So there are 5 category sectors in our NDC, our enhanced NDC. It is the energy sector, forestry and land use sector, and industrial processes and product use, as well as the waste sector and the agriculture sector. So if we're talking about the climate change and the Montreal Protocol, we will be talking about the IPPU sector and then the energy sectors. The energy efficiency, like we already known for the Montreal Protocol, it will belong to the energy sectors. It's one part of the energy sectors in Indonesia commitment in under the NDCs. And let's see that in our NDC, we only cover the 3 gases, the 3 GHG, CO2, the methane, and NO2. But our NDC is not covered yet the HFC. And this is now we are under process for the identification and stock taking, how we will build the baseline for the IPPU, the new baseline for the IPPU sectors under the second NDC, which will be then expected to be submitted hopefully next year or at the latest in 2025 as mandated by the Paris Agreement. So that's maybe the linkage between the climate change, the NDCs, with the Montreal Protocol, particularly if we're talking about the Kigali Amendment. So after the ratification of Kigali Amendment, I mentioned before that we are now in the process of stock taking and developing the baseline through the inventory process, and we will also build the HFC phase down scenarios. It will be done based on the baseline and HFC allocation modeling as the basis to develop HFC phase down scenarios. And it is already starting to coordinate with the line ministries, especially if we're talking about the IPPU sector, the energy sector in our NDCs. with the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources as well as the Ministry of Industry. And some consideration in this scenarios development is in Indonesia are the technology development, industry readiness, of course, and the market penetration, as well as the national and social economy condition. These scenarios, the phase down HFE scenarios, will be continued to develop, and scenario adjustment will be discussed as per HFC phase down schedule. So if we're talking about the Kigali Amendment, we have this freeze time as well as the gradual phasing down of the HFC. So that's maybe from our experiences in Indonesia, how to linkage the climate change commitment with the Montreal Protocol, especially if we're talking about the Kigali Amendment. And we also have the long-term strategies, vision. We will have, in our vision, we will have the net zero scenarios, the net zero emission in 2060 or sooner. That is our, it is already contented in our document submitted to the UNFCCC in 2021, namely the long-term strategies on low carbon and climate resilience 2050. So maybe you can Google it, and then it's already there. And our last NDC, our enhanced NDC was already there too. So that's maybe from Indonesia's perspective, and our next plan is to develop the Kigali implementation plan. So we have the cooperation with the UNDP and the World Bank, and hopefully early 2024 we can see how these scenarios will be done, breaking down to the sectors, the RRC and the other manufacturer sectors. So thank you, and it will be our pleasure if we will continue this discussion later on. Thank you. So I'll give it to you.
Thank you very much, Yilian, to share your experience, how to reach the ambition of climate change through the NDC, and how to link the, Kigali Amendment with your country's, climate action and climate plan. And also congratulate your government has enhanced the NDC and set up the net zero roadmap of our country. I believe that Kigali Amendment will also be well developed, with your capable team in the country. Thank you very much. The next we are very glad to invite the Chief Officer from the Multilateral Fund, Tina Burbely, to join us. And thank you very much. Tina just joined us in a very early time of the day because she's still in Montreal. She will come to here later. Multilateral Fund is kind of another very important pillar of the Montreal Protocol for the success so far. It will continue to play this kind of key role going forward for the success of the Kigali Amendment, but also beyond that. So welcome, Tina, to join us. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Xiaofang. Distinguished guests, dear colleagues, dear friends, dear colleagues from UNDP. Thank you for hosting me at your event, even if I'm very far away from the heart of the climate discussions that take place in Dubai this week. The work of the protocol, and by extension the work of the fund that keeps it ticking, is crucial to mitigate the crisis of climate change. COP28 will finish just a few days before the 93rd meeting of the Executive Committee begins. It is in this meeting where we expect that over 20 Kigali implementation plans will be approved, whose implementation will directly contribute to climate change mitigation. Funding the implementation of the Kigali Amendment can provide a very big boost to efforts to keep the 1.5 degrees Celsius target of the Paris Agreement alive. And I think the main challenge that we have and the main opportunity is exactly what the Director of Climate Change Mitigation from Indonesia said: how to connect the discussions that take place in the Montreal Protocol right now,
the discussions that take place in the Multilateral Fund with the transitions that are happening at the country level on energy efficiency and climate change mitigation. The Kigali Amendment, as we have said back in 2016, can change people's lives and address the climate challenge, but only if we assist developing countries to implement it and address any challenges they may face. The Multilateral Fund has recently replenished by 965 million for the 24-26 period to support those countries. The Executive Committee will also discuss in its upcoming meeting in late December an operational framework for the energy efficiency when phasing down HFCs. Becoming more energy efficient is essential for the cooling industry, is essential for the discussions that take place in Dubai right now. It's essential for every energy sector as we decarbonize the global economy. One of the questions that Xiaofang will ask the participants in the panel to follow is what is the most important lesson of the Montreal Protocol for climate change action? This is one of the questions that I have always been reflecting upon, how we can replicate the successful example of the Montreal Protocol to other agreements. And one of the responses to this question is with a robust and successful funding mechanism with clean and clear performance targets. The Multilateral Fund has a long history of success. It works well. A total of approximately 9,000 projects have been approved by the Multilateral Fund in 144 countries, 85% of which have been completed. These projects include training programs for technicians and customs officers, transition to climate-friendly alternatives, the implementation of regulatory and legislative frameworks. Assistance is also provided through institutional strengthening projects, a unique way to increase the capabilities of those who deal with the protection of the ozone layer and climate change mitigation. It has been instrumental in the complete phase out of CFC, CTC, methyl bromide and methyl chloroform in Article 5 countries, with the elimination of 8 CFCs expected by 2030. Between 1995 and 2021, the total avoided emissions from Article 5 countries are estimated at 51 gigatons of CO2 equivalent, with a $2 trillion savings to society. From my side, I would like to leave you with the following message. We have achieved so much, and we can achieve so much more. And the success depends on the parties to the Montreal Protocol that implement our work, the members of the Executive Committee, but also on the bilateral and implementing agencies such as UNDP, which have the feet on the ground, and they have been doing an outstanding job over the years. Thank you very much, colleagues.
Thank you very much, Tina, to join us and share the progress under your leadership and in the Montreal Protocol, Multilateral Fund. There were a lot of things going on regarding to the Kigali Amendment, the policy, and also the energy efficiency. There will be also a very good document produced by the Secretariat for the discussion in the coming weeks in Montreal about the framework of the energy efficiency. That will be very important topic under this family. It's linked to the climate change, how this Montreal Protocol can contribute, for broader climate agenda, rather than additional to the refrigerant transition. I think that's very, very important for climate, but also for each country and for the industry, in the future. So I really look forward and hope that under Tina's leadership, then we will have a good policy developed and decided by the policymakers of the ESCA. With all of this great, speech, then we can go to the next session. Etienne, would you introduce our panelists? Thank you, Tina.
Yes, we have achieved so much and we can achieve so much more. I think that was a good summary of motivation for our community. Yes, let's move to the panel, and I invite our distinguished panelists to go to the front, please. We have Mrs. Hélène Walter Terinoni, Director, Global Climate Policy, Center for Energy Efficiency and Sustainability at Train Technologies. And she's also a member of the TIAP of the Montreal Protocol and a co-chair of the Forum Technical Option Committee. Thank you so much for joining us for this discussion. And we have Mrs. Hélène Michel, Head of Secretariat, Climate and Ozone Protection Alliance, Project Manager at ProClima International, GIZ, a close partner of UNDP and on many projects and bilateral implementing agency. Thank you. And also, if there's any question in the Q&A towards the end, Mrs. Chanchal from the India delegation was here and can respond to questions if needed. Thank you.
Yes, it works. Thank you, Etienne. Welcome to join the panelists in this event. Listen to those previous speakers about the success of Montreal Protocol, and so we want to, discuss here and listen from all of you. What kind of experience you think from your Montreal Protocol is really important, and how we can increase the positive, impact from this sector, from Montreal Protocol relevant sector to the climate change. This is something, we want to achieve more, as Tina said, and just share your insight about this. So maybe, Alan?
Yes, so thank you also for having me on the panel, and I'm very happy to have listened to all the interesting explanations and insights, and what can we learn from the Montreal Protocol, what we also see as GIZ as an implementing agency supporting countries in their efforts to actually phase out HFCs, and also move towards natural refrigerants. We think what has been very nicely said, and I would just like to emphasize the experiences to be taken towards the Paris Agreement. What is very important is actually to link the two, the Montreal Protocol community and the climate change community, and as you have explained very nicely, the integration of the cooling sector into the national determined contribution seems to be the thing to do. And for that, actually, we think it needs in all countries an integrated approach, because often it's different departments, even different ministries that are responsible, and not always they are very easily cooperating. So we think it needs the ozone officers to closely coordinate with the climate change responsible people, but also with the energy efficiency departments to then actually move together forward. GIZ has been setting up an NDC help desk for countries that do want to have guidance on this. There has also been a manual prepared on how to integrate the cooling sector in which parts of the NDC. And the other part that was also mentioned earlier is data and monitoring, because there are different requirements, but also it's necessary to have the relevant data properly collected to then make wise decisions on where are actually really the pain points and how to address those and how to change it. Maybe one more word on lessons learned. It was mentioned a lot, but I can just emphasize it. It's the financing mechanism. Really, it does need funds, and funds that are provided through the Multilateral Fund in this case, and then support developing countries and actually putting things into action. And the other part is really public awareness. And yes, we all know there's a climate crisis, But I think what has been really well done is the public awareness upon the ozone hole. So there was scientific explanations, there was a lot of emphasis put on this, and everybody could understand the health effects of the ozone hole directly, and this really created some kind of movement. Industry was driven to find different solutions, and I think that has been really something very powerful, and we should see how, with this climate crisis somehow there, but still people like to push it away a bit from themselves, how to actually make this case also to be as successful as the Montreal Protocol advances.
Thank you. So thank you for inviting me. One of the things that I think is amazing about the Montreal Protocol is the consensus process. So the fact that everyone gets a voice, even on the panels, we work by consensus. So let me just say, although I'm on the team, I may veer from consensus because I'm not asking everyone right now. But I think that element of cooperation, it brings all parties in. And I think you mentioned it earlier, Xiaofeng, and also Meg, that everyone is invested in the solution because of that consensus process. I think as well, the Montreal Protocol is so well established in science, and that careful analysis and communication around science, to your point as well, and then the technical analyses that take place as well. So I think those are some important features. I think the consensus process extends beyond just the parties and the panels, even to trying to draw the companies in, and it helps to drive them to buy in to create solutions to achieve these important goals. I think as far as the future and the ambition of the Montreal Protocol and the way that it kind of links into climate, it's so apparent. Energy efficiency and decarbonization, as well as the measuring and reporting and the work that's done from a science-based target initiatives, SBTI, and the Carbon Disclosure Project. I think those are the kinds of reporting things that we're going to see more and more from companies. I think there's been discussion about potentially an industry cooling pledge that would require that kind of reporting in, so to support the countries and their motion forward. I think that I'm very excited to see, Tina's gone, but I'm very excited to see the record-breaking replenishment fund to address these next steps. I think that it is very important. I think that it is exciting and important to see the very thoughtfulness of the parties around the servicing the smaller countries, the very low volume consuming countries. I think that they have some very special and unique challenges. We were discussing earlier, there's some challenges around the choices that they're able to make in this transition. They don't have as many options when you're just servicing equipment. They may need some support about some of the big decisions that were made at the MOP, or the meeting of the parties, around looking more at reclaim and helping smaller, lower consuming countries think about reclaimed refrigerant. So I think there's a lot of next steps for this body to take to further these climate goals, and also to bring people up, right? I was talking with somebody the other day about technicians. So technicians turn over very quickly in this space, because technicians come in, they learn this skill, and they go on and get a better job and have better lives. It's kind of a gateway and a door-opening feature. So if we think about gender mainstreaming and bringing women in, and also upskilling, I think it's a great way to kind of pull more people forward and advancing careers for everyone. So just some thoughts a little bit there, and thank you, Xiaofeng, for the question.
Thank you very much. I think you two said some very important things about the success of Montreal Protocol, and I think climate change can learn from that. First, I think very good science-based based decision mechanism. And also the reporting. I think this is a real important pillar of the Montreal Protocol every year. So all the parties report data, and based on data, and all of the panel can do the assessment, and all of the parties work together, and if identify any gaps, and party work to fill the gap. And finance system is important, dedicated multilateral fund, try to support everything the country needs, I would say, from the institutional strengthening network, then the sector approach is very successful, and then can focus on the specific solution in each sector's alternatives, and with those also, servicing and strategy, the phase 1, phase 2 stage strategy approach. So everything seems, we think, necessary, and this family managed to support. So I would say that's something, it's comprehensive portfolio approach, make all of the things could be achieved. And another thing I think is very important is ownership of the parties to the obligations to the Montreal Protocol. You could see from all of the previous speakers, they are strongly, feel that they're very seriously to the compliance. All of the government make every effort trying to be compliant with the Montreal Protocol. That's very important, I think, for the success of the Montreal Protocol. So many things we can see. So, but going forward, I think there are still a lot of challenges, but we think that's everything is about hard in the beginning. But if you start it, so you will find a solution anyway. And I believe we can accelerate when we start it. So, but we can do more. It's not only the refrigerant transition, but rather than find every opportunities to achieve greater impact. Energy efficiency is one of them. It's a big thing, and this community really can contribute to think about how to improve the energy efficiency, because this is a product we are working on. We are, with the sectors, with the stakeholders, and we can really increase those standards at international level, global level, country level, but also through some innovative and system approach, and like district cooling, heating, renewable energy, put it together, provide more benefit to the society. It's not only about the environment, it's about sustainable development, it's about our society and the people. I think that's a lot of things we can do in the future. So maybe finally, you can say a few words, but maybe I just want to ask people here whether you have any questions to our panelists. But anyway, I think here's all, the people working for the Montreal Protocol for many years. Please.
Hello, colleagues. My name is Teminkosi. I'm from the Energy Department from Eswatini. Yes, I just want to know, we have committed to be part of the pledge and accede to it. So what are the interventions that you are looking that we can do, as one of you rightfully highlighted, from the energy sector? Are there any assistance in terms maybe capacity building or of any form that will be given to countries so that we can stick to the pledge? It does not just remain a political declaration, but there are actions on ground towards the pledge that we will make here. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations for committing to the cooling pledge.
So that's very impressive, Eswatini, to commit to the cooling pledge. We have been discussing an industry-associated pledge as well to support the countries as they move forward with their goals, so that this is not just a pledge. There's some not just ambition, but there's actual action and implementation. And I think, I think one of the things that I was excited about were some of the decisions that the MOP around. It's voluntary, but around actions to reduce dumping of inefficient equipment. So, setting your energy efficiency standards, and maybe you already have them. I apologize. I don't know where they are or how high they are in Eswatini, but energy efficiency standards, and I think also education if you're importing equipment for the people at the border, the customs agents, so that they know how to identify equipment that is that does comply or doesn't comply. I think as well. I think that there are opportunities for training. Like we were kind of chatting beforehand, but also I really do think this industry can lift people up and lift others up in their advancing their families. So I think that we have seen certainly the ACES Center in Rwanda. I think that there are probably other ways to think about this. One of the conversations we've had is around whether or not I saw in India, this was probably 10 years ago, Xiaofeng, and maybe you know more about it, but an app was developed for technicians to kind of ask questions in real time. So around correct installation practices, which leads to better energy efficiency. And all those things are very necessary, because if you don't install the equipment correctly, you use more energy. And with everyone will be using more electricity, and we can't all put on all those grids. So I think energy efficiency and proper installation, those things and training there are going to be more important. So I think those are some of the things that that I think about top of mind, where the crossover happens between both Montreal Protocol and the energy efficiency community. So, do you have some thoughts?
Yes, just to add, I also agree to what was already said. Maybe one additional element would be to support from the government side in the field of enabling access to green technologies, energy efficient. I also always like to make a case for natural refrigerants. That is a good combination. But that could be through programs of green public procurement, through bulk procurement, so that the equipment, the energy efficient equipment, actually enters the countries, is showcased, and then also spreads throughout other sectors, not only the public sector. Otherwise, I can only agree. I think capacity development for the service technicians is one of the key elements. That includes lots of areas, but also only well installed and maintained and service equipment is energy efficient. Yeah. Otherwise, best technology probably is not helpful. And then the maps. I also think it's a very important tool. Energy labels on the equipments to raise public awareness is something that could be also beneficial to stick to the pledge. And I also congratulate for your engagement there.
Yeah, just add that in that pledge that encouraged all the parties to develop the National Cooling Action Plan. So at the UNDP, we help 12 countries develop the National Cooling Plan. We have new publication this year. Just last week, we published a summary of the National Cooling Plan, for 11 countries. Yes, Etienne. So that could be something you can refer to. I think that's a good tool for you to start, how you can take the stock, some baseline data, and, design, have a stakeholder conversation, and design some roadmap, for mitigate the cooling sector. That would be very useful. I think that's a lot of things you can find is helpful for you. We can have discussion after this event. Yeah, thank you very much. It's time to end this event. Yeah.
I try to be brief. So one thing I learned from the Montreal Protocol and the UNFCCC processes, and you already mentioned that coordination between us, including the coordination and consultation with the scientific communities. Because when I entered this community, to be honest, I was quite a bit shocking when one of the findings from the TAP and SEP, I don't remember which one, it says that one solution under the IPCC is and have to be anticipated to be kind of the destroying the ozone layer, the aerosol injections, because in the IPCC, it is one of the solution for the climate change. So instead of being a solution, it will maybe become another problem for the ozone protection. So that's maybe the improvement of the consultation and coordination between us. It will be done very important. The awareness from the scientific community is one important point, because in my understanding and my experiences, every pledges, every commitment is based on the scientific finding. So in our in our experiences, so that's maybe we have to be careful. So we have to be coordinated among ourselves, just to avoid another problem. So that's maybe my thank you.
I agree fully, and I think we saw a decision to look further into that at the MOP, and I think that the SAP will, they've put a little bit in their last quadrennial assessment, and there'll be more in the next one, and I think that they're very cautiously watching the research, and they're very careful. They only incorporate third-party reviewed research. I mean, it's very similar to UNFCCC. So I think it is an important point, and there are many. We don't want to end up with unintended consequences if that's the direction the world takes. So it's a very good point.
Yes, that's very important issue, and I believe that in the future there need more collaboration between different treaties, communities, and we will not repeat something or do something. In the future we need to do it again. That's I believe we will find a solution, to fit for, multiple purpose and benefits. So thank you again. Thank you for this event. I really appreciate. We will continue, and in the future days